Another cross stitching update. It's been a week since my last video. I have a good amount of things to show today. I have a big finish and I would have some fully finishes, but I got a bit lazy. I have a mess going on my table here of things that I need to frame, that I picked up my frames that were finished from Hobby Lobby. I just have not had a chance to stick them in there. So I'm going to start with my first, well, my only finish, and it is Channing Street from Annie B's. This was one of my oldest whips, my second oldest. Sorry, everybody is home today and I can hear them playing Barbie in the Barbie house right there. Channing Street. I made this one be a sampler in remembrance of my dog. His name was Bear. He was a Chihuahua and we are coming up on his 4-year anniversary. So I really wanted to get it finished before then. And I'm so happy I did. My grass color came in. I finally finished that grass and I finally got up the nerve to chart something for the cartouche. Sorry, it's really loud. I used graph paper that Nicola from Hands Across the Sea offers for free on her website. Somebody posted that in the comments that was an option. So thank you to whoever did that. I can't remember your name, but that was very helpful. And I ended up using the quote. I didn't use like the quoter's name and save it or anything, but there's nothing truer in the world than the love of a good dog. And I just used a free alphabet that I found on the internet. And I love it. I'm so happy to have it finished. I can't wait to get a frame picked out for it. I was hoping it would fit in an 8x10, but it's just slightly too big for an 8x10 and too small for an 11x14. So it won't fit in a off-the-shelf frame, unfortunately. But I am so happy to have it done. I love it. I stitched it on 40 count latte from XG Designs with colors I pulled from Stash. There it is, my big finish. Okay, since it's right here, I'll show this one next. I had a new start over the last week. I just was, I don't know, in the mood for one. I haven't been in the mood for one for a while, so I jumped on that. And I ended up starting, there's hanging strings from it, so apologies, but I ended up starting Ellen Windsor, 1882. I believe this was from one of the one of the previous red boxes from Hands Across the Sea. I'm not sure which one though. I bought this off of a friend. Published in, it doesn't say year. Words of Wisdom, I think, because it says honesty is the best policy. So I want to say it's probably from the Words of Wisdom box. But I thought this was kind of patriotic because it was it's stitched in blue and red. And while I didn't have the called for blue and red, I did have these two blue and red. And I thought this board is going to slide right off my legs. And I thought that they would be nice together. Here is what this is looking like right now. I got the whole bottom border done and I'm working on these, all this section, these little diagonals here are backstitch, so it's not crosses. And the way that they're laid, they kind of like interlay together, I think is a really cool effect. I'm stitching it on 46 count Ashley Down from Tabby Cat. I've never stitched on this one before, and this is the only size or piece of Ashley Down I had in my stash, and it's beautiful. I'm gonna have to get me a bigger piece. So pretty. I'm sorry if you can hear them. Dad is also playing, and he has a loud, deep voice. Okay, there is that one. I also worked on my stitch along, well, not my stitch along, but stitch along I'm in for Maria Wales Newson. Happily, I can report that I have finished the February portion of the stitch along. I had a lot of over one stitching, and I really wanted to get it done. I was kind of like, I don't know. I knew last month I didn't leave it till the end, like all the stitching, and I was glad that I did that because then I got a nice break from her before it was time to pick her up again. So I knew I wanted to do that again. So here is what she's looking like now. I'm stitching her on the called for 46 count lichen from Tabby Cat with all of the 103 silks. So the middle section of the February section of this sal was right here. This middle spot. I enjoyed stitching it. Doing these little teeny motifs felt like it kind of went quicker, whereas this one had two really huge motifs and then a couple small ones, but the pot was really big, but it was really fun to stitch. I think it's so pretty. And because I have a mistake in this tree, I think it's one stitch too high. I knew I couldn't count off of it to start this section, so I had to do the words before I could do this part to make sure the counting is right, because I knew the border was right. So the words here use 4-sided stitch and over one stitching. So to be able to count correctly to get to this pot, I counted off of this border and I did these 4-sided stitches to get this section of 4-sided stitch done, and then I counted down to this bird, and then counted down to this pot, and then counted off this flower to this flower. So, but we got there. This is all correct. It's just this one that's not correct, but since I know that, I can work around it. It shouldn't be an issue going forward now. So I did finish the border all the way to the side. So this is as large as it is, which is nice to have that edge. So the next section of the sal for March is basically a duplicate of this on this side, and this is a lot of stitching. So I for sure won't be leaving it till the end of March, but I will get a nice 3 or so week break from Maria before I need to start the next section again. And honestly, I am really loving working on her. I did get a bit burnout with the words here because my eyes were like going crazy. I had to do it in sections, but she is beautiful and I'm having a great time. The house is right here. So in 1, 2, 3 months, I'll get to the house, maybe a little less, or 3 months, I guess, I would think. I can't remember how big I know that the sections going forward are much smaller than these first 3. The first 3 sections are the largest. I think they said they did that on purpose. So because motivation when the baiting of sals is usually high, so you're more likely to get more done. Versus at the end of the year, I think the last 3 sections are the smallest, but I'm not sure. So yeah, there is my Maria progress. Okay, and I don't even know if I should show it. I didn't do a ton, but I'll just hold it up because it's easier. I did pull out Dwelling Place, and I just did grass. I just worked in the grass. I learned my lesson with Channing Street. Don't leave all the grass to the end. I'll put it on the board. Dwelling Place is a chart that I am really desperate to get finished this year. It's one of my oldest projects. Here's where it's looking. So that's all I did. I think I was about here with grass, so I just did this big chunk of grass. And I said, if every time I pull this out, I do something, and then that size of a chunk of grass, slowly but surely, the grass will get finished. And I still have to fill in the giant house. After these big things are filled in, it's just like another, I think there's a large potted motif here and then little things. So it's looking up for dwelling place. Another whip I worked on. I wish there was a faster way to do this, but there's not. I worked on my other Maria. It was just the week for Maria, I guess. Okay. So this is Maria Euan from Hands Across the Sea. I am stitching it on 46 count buttermilk from Color and Cotton with all the called for 103 silks. So when I pulled Maria out, what I did was these 3 border flowers, this motif, this basket motif, and this little section. This border runs all the way across. So I just did this chunk of work here. And it's always so like, it doesn't look like a lot, but it took 2 days. So it's quite a bit. She's so pretty. I love the colors on Maria. They're so soothing. They remind me, well, Maria, the other Maria has a lot more yellow, which I'm like, yellow's not my favorite. But they are similar color palette. I think they'll look very nice together on the wall. There is Maria Euan. Oops, I'm just throwing these now at this point. We're not putting them back. 2 more projects. I'll just show them at the same time. They are my animal crackers. I didn't do a ton on these, but I did do some. Okay. This is Sugar. These are animal crackers from Stacy Nash. This is Sugar. She was an exclusive to the Jingle Ball this year. What did I do on her? I did a little bit more fill in her face, and then I started outlining her giant tail. It goes all the way around this way too. Like her butt is like that wide. It's so big. She's really intimidating. I know I stitched these huge things, but there's something about something that's like a solid, humongous skunk that is intimidating. And then I did a bit more on Blizzard. I finished outlining the scarf, and I did some more fill in on the scarf, and I outlined the side of his head up to, I think this is top of his ear. I filled in more tail, and then I filled in more of his sweater. This thread I'm using for his sweater is a speckled thread from Roxy Floss. It was an exclusive to the Roxy Floss Club, and it's so fun to use. I need to figure out our dryer. Something is caught in it or something, and it was just having a squealing, screaming fit. So, sorry if you heard that. Anyways, my animal crackers. This is where they are now. Okay, that is all my whips to show today. I do have a little bit of haul. I have my Floss Fix Club, which is my classic Colorix Club through Fat Quarter Shop. We're still in the S's. So we got steamed broccoli, stepping stones, St. Bernard, sponge sugar, spinach, and sparkling rosé. And then my Color and Cotton, I said Classic Colorworks almost, right? My Color and Cotton Fabric Club came. I'm in the soft neutrals. I get 40 count. And this month's color is Chiffon. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so pretty. I love it. She actually posted a picture of a stack of this fabric on her Instagram. So I knew this was what the color was going to be, but it's so beautiful. I love it. And I know I've mentioned it before, but for me, Color and Cotton fabric seems to shrink quite a bit in the dyeing process. Every dyer is different, but hers tend to shrink quite a bit. And so I'm in the 40 count club, but it's more like 45 count when you're stitching on it. So I'm going to plan to use these in my 46 count stash because silks, 103 silks especially, look really good on Color and Cotton's 40 count. And then my sweet friend Debbie has been going through her stash and finding duplicate charts and so sweetly sending me her duplicate charts. And she had a second of Bringing Home the Tree from the Scarlet House, and she sent it my way. Thank you, Debbie. And then I got my very first red box from Hands Across the Sea. The theme this year was All Creatures Great and Small, which made me very happy. Nicola has her video out now detailing everything that's in the box, so I don't really feel the need to go through it with you. Her video is more than efficient. She goes through every single thing very detailed, and I know Audrey Stitch Bead has also filmed an unboxing, so I'm not going to bother going through it. I'm very happy with the box. I loved everything inside. Everything inside is beautiful. The charts, there's only one or two that I was like, no, I will not stitch, but I liked most of them. Maybe I'll show you just a couple of my favorites. This was my favorite from the box. Molly Stone. The kitties and the ducks and the little foals and the purple. It's just so much fun. I love the little fancy dainty border. This was my favorite from the box. I also really liked Mary Borrowdale. I love that little pastoral kind of scene. It's really pretty. It reminded me of the chart they were given at Swindon. I also really loved Rebecca Austin. Those colors are so rich. Where's the other ones? They're all really pretty. I mean, there's a lot of freaking charts in here. I also liked Elizabeth Parks. That horse is really fun. And Odile Francois. This is a big one though. So just a few of my favorites from the box. I never got around to starting Amelia Boyce, which is this one. I'm starting it with Audrey, and she ended up going out of town part of the week, so just didn't have time, and that was fine by me. I have plenty to stitch in the meantime, so we will start that at some point. Hopefully it's next week. We'll see. That is all of my haul. So, plans. I have none. I'm actually struggling being motivated by my whips right now because all the stuff coming out of market is so good. I'm like, I don't want you anymore. I just want the new stuff. So I'm trying to chill and just stitch on my things that I know I love, but market is so good. It's so good this year. I can't believe it. I've already done one order with Michelle, Farm Girl Dry Goods, And I do plan to do another order because we're still waiting on a couple designers to put out their releases. And then I will order from another shop once the rest of the designers release their things. Spread the love. I did pull out Harriet Hay. I almost started it the other day. I have a 103 silk conversion from the attic. So that's still a possibility. But Amelia Boyce is also, I really want to start her. Okay. Life, we've done a lot of stuff this week. And I probably can't even remember most of it. I don't know why. Thursday, I was surprised with a Valentine's dinner date. So that was quite fun. We went out to dinner. And then Friday, we did something Friday. Why can't I think of it? I don't know. Guys, my memory, it's so bad. It's so bad. I've been going to yoga like 2 or 3 times a week too. I'm loving it. That's what I did on Friday. But we haven't been having a pretty chill weekend other than, so Saturday was Valentine's Day. And we had a little tragedy. Our little cat, we have 2 cats. We have the older one, he's our gray tabby, and we have the younger one, and she was a calico tabby. She has passed away. She passed away on Saturday morning. We are not entirely sure what happened to her. Thursday morning, I noticed she wasn't walking, so I took her into the vet, and they checked her out. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Her temperature was good. Her, respiratory was good. Her heart was good. Everything seemed good. And he said he couldn't physically feel anything wrong with her. So we took her home to just watch her for the next day. Friday, she still, it's like she would walk far enough that she could go hide somewhere in the house. But she was laying really weird, like just in a position that she never was in. And so I called the vet and I asked, like because there was further tests we could do, but they are very expensive. And I live in rural Idaho. We are not strangers to dead cats, unfortunately. If you live in the country, you're going to experience a lot of dead cats. Not that it isn't sad and horrible, but you have to think about how much are you willing to spend on a cat, a barn cat. Essentially, my cats are outdoor cats. So we didn't do the test then. I called the vet the next day and she wasn't really improving. She wasn't really eating or drinking. She wasn't eating at all. She was drinking just a little bit. And they said that blood work and x-rays couldn't even really show us anything. We'd have to do ultrasounds and some other things. And it just, unfortunately, it was a cost thing. So we kept watching her, and by Friday night, she was still happy, but she was doing, I don't know if you've experienced an animal who is dying, but she was trying to find somewhere in the house to die. She was hiding and disappearing into really weird places. I kept finding her in really, really strange places that she would never ever be normally. And so we have a cat box. I put a little blanket in there and her water and everything. And I was just trying to keep her in this cat box because I didn't know what was wrong with her. And the doctor said the blood test wouldn't even tell us if she had ingested some kind of toxin or anything. So I didn't see the point of doing that if it couldn't even tell us if she ingested something. So going to bed Friday night, I just kind of knew. I just knew she probably wasn't going to make it through the night, just judging by what I had seen all day Friday. And Saturday morning, we woke up and I found her. She had crawled to a weird spot outside. I don't know how she got out the cat door from the garage, but she had crawled outside and she had passed. So it's been hard. helping my kids navigate this grief. When my dog passed, that was more of a grief for me. It was my dog. He didn't like the kids, and they were really little. But this cat has been around since my youngest was 1, so she's only ever known this cat being around, and my kids are a little older now, and they can understand more what this means. And so that's been the hardest part, is helping them navigate their grief through this. So we had a funeral for her on Saturday. We buried her in our yard in her favorite place between the dogwoods. And we got a little stone to put on top of it with, like, it had some kind of saying on it. Something about paw prints on your heart. I don't know. And they drew her pictures, and it was sad. It was really hard. And it's been sad. But so that was kind of our tragedy of the year already. We got one going. But the kids are doing okay now. They can talk about her with happy feelings now. We like to share our memories of her. It's been hard watching my other cat too. He keeps looking for her in her typical favorite hiding places in the house. He keeps looking for her in these places, and you can tell he's just like, where the heck are you? So yes, unfortunately, we have lost one of our cats. And we don't know what happened to her. The vet suspected that maybe she had injured herself somehow Wednesday night. She was an explorer. I think she would go pretty far. She crossed the street fairly often too, so it's possible she got bumped by a car or fell off. She was a climber, so she'd fall off a roof or fall off out of a big tree. She injured herself just because it seemed like she'd lost motor control of her limbs. Like, she could move them a little bit, but it was like very hard for her to do, I think. So unfortunately, it's just one of the woes of living in a rural area, but it is no less sad. So yes, I'm going to put a bunch of little pictures of her in this video. She was the prettiest cat I've ever seen. We called her our show cat. So put a little pictures of her in it, if you guys don't mind seeing a bunch of pictures of her. So, and then today the kids are home. They have no school today, and my husband doesn't have work today. So I took my son down to get a haircut, and it was just me and him. So we kind of just had a little afternoon together. He got a haircut. He needed some new shoes desperately, so he got some new shoes, and we went to lunch and went through the car wash, and he said it was the best day ever. So so coming off of a pretty sad weekend, it's nice to see him happy about something again. Shows. I finished The Chosen. I'm all the way caught up on The Chosen. It ended on a big cliffhanger. I knew it would. It was so good. This entire, I think it was the 5th season, is called the Last Supper season. This entire season was so good. So good. Every episode, I was sad when it ended. But I did read that they'd finished filming the next season in September. So hopefully in the next 8 months to a year, we get a new season. We started a show on Prime called Steel, Steal. It has Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones in it, and we watched the first episode, and I don't know, it was okay. If you've watched it all the way through, is it worth continuing the show? Because we, for some reason, haven't wanted to watch the next episode. And then I watched a docuseries on Hulu called The Scream Murder, a Teenage Horror Story. And this is crazy because this happened in 2006 to Cassie Jo Stoddard. And it happened in Pocatello, Idaho, which is 40 minutes from me. I used to live in Pocatello. When I went to college, I lived in Pocatello. There's a cat scratching at the door. So it happened in 2006. I was the exact same age as these kids when this happened, in a high school 40 minutes away from the high school that this happened. So it's just like really, really weird. And then obviously I was 16 when it happened, so I didn't know the details as it was happening, as they were coming out. So watching it and thinking about the fact that I could have been my school so easily was really kind of sickening. But basically these two boys reenacted the Scream movie and murdered one of their friends and classmates. And they are serving life in prison with no parole. And so this happened 20 years ago, and it had them. They were in the documentary. They had interviews in the prison, and her family was in it, and so was the boys' families, and there was just a lot I didn't know, and it was really crazy and psychotic, but very interesting. I mean, it's true crime, but the fact that it was in my backyard is so weird. But I thought it was a really well done documentary. I liked it. I mean, it sounds so gross to say I liked it, but I did. And then this past weekend, since we were all just home and sad, we watched a whole bunch of movies. We watched the Mummy movies. There's like 3 of them, I think. And we watched the first 2. The first one, obviously, the best. The second one was okay. It's not my favorite. And then we didn't even watch the third one. But then we started the X-Men series, and we've only watched X-Men. Those movies, I had to look up the order. What order do you watch them in? Because I don't think I've ever watched all of them and in order. I've watched them like sporadically. So I have like a baseline knowledge of the X-Men universe. Very baseline. So we watched the first one. But the kids weren't watching it. They were like, meh, we're bored. So that's all we've been watching. And then our typical shows, 1,000-Pound Sisters and Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We still have to watch the new one from last night though. And we have been watching the Olympics too. We watched some curling. We watched the women's skeleton and the women's bobsled. And we watched a couple different speed skating events. And then I've been watching ice skating. I watch the videos on my phone because I swear I miss them every time I miss them. So we're watching the Olympics, and we want to try to make sure we watch the USA hockey team when they play. They've already beaten Canada. They beat Germany too. I can't remember who they're playing. But that's the shows we've been watching. And then I did finish in books. I did finish Keeping 13, which was the second in there's 7 books, I think, but it was the second in the Johnny and Shannon duo. And then I started Saving 6, which is the first in 2 of Joey and Aoife. It's very sad. I knew it would be sad just because it's the same story as Shannon, but a different perspective and worse, frankly, I think worse perspective of Joey's. He had it a lot harder than Shannon. Not that they both didn't have it very hard, but it's been sad. It's been sad, but it's been good too. And again, it's like, I can't stop reading these. They're potato chips. I haven't been listening to any books. I tried listening to, I can't remember. I tried listening to one and I was like, I couldn't get into it. So I haven't been listening to any books, but I have been reading these still. Market picks. I do have a bunch of market picks, but I don't want to show them until all the designers have released theirs. But one of the crowning jewel for me of market so far has been A Worthy Patriot from Paulette, Plum Street Samplers. I mean, jaw-dropping, a stunner, showstopper, beautiful. So, Hobby House has all the threads listed. Oops. And so I went through my stash and I pulled all the threads for A Worthy Patriot. So that's ready to go immediately when I get that chart. I'm very excited. And then I'll show my other market picks when they come or when we finish putting them out. But otherwise, that is all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. I hope you get all the stitching you want in the next week, and I will see you next time. Bye.